With the new energy efficient homes and buildings that are constructed these days, often we're asked, is it worthwhile combining the air conditioning, the floor heating and cooling, the tap hot water production, the pool heating, and perhaps any other building services that can be supplied into one central package? So let me tell you about the 3 main advantages and the 1 main disadvantage about these. These days we can easily combine different building services such as the aircon, the floor heating, cooling, the pool heating and the tap hot water because of cost reductions in the technology and advancements in controlling these different systems together. The first main advantage of combining all of these different building services together is that we have less equipment. We need less space for all of the different pieces of equipment around the building. So we don't need a couple of aircon units outside on one side of the house, a heat pump on the other side of the house for the floor heating and cooling, a separate hot water unit or 2 around the house, and then another pool or spa heater in the corner. We can actually just have one which either produces either heat or chill at any time, or we can have a unit that produces both simultaneously, heat and chill, to provide the heat and chill required for all of these building services, and we just distribute it from a central position in the building or the house to each energy application as we need. The second main advantage in combining these building services is often that instead of having to allow for enough electrical supply into the building for all of these different building services or all of these units around, which might add up to 60 amps, 80 amps, 100 amps required of electrical current, if we have it from one central unit, we can lower that down to perhaps 32 amps or perhaps even lower. And that can smartly decide where the energy should go at any one time. Because when you think about it, there isn't actually an immediate requirement for everything to turn on at once. Usually what will happen is, okay, the tap hot water, that's the most important thing. When we need hot water, focus on producing that, and perhaps the floor heating can not receive any energy for 5 minutes, and that's fine within the building because no one would even notice. So by just centralizing the plant, and instead of having say 6 or 7 different pieces of equipment, we can then lower the electrical supply into the building. The third main advantage is that we can, as briefly touched on in the last point, we can smartly control all of these different aspects, and we can make them work together instead of working against each other. So for example, we can say, okay, well, we're air conditioning inside, we're cooling the house, and normally the air conditioning unit would be rejecting heat into the atmosphere, but instead of rejecting that heat and wasting it and sending it into the atmosphere, we can direct that to the pool or to the hot water tank. And instead of just shooting that off and then having to reproduce that energy again ourselves, that heat again ourselves, we basically get that for free and we can utilize it. So if we have it all as a combined system, it's much easier to control, capture any wastage and increase or maximize the energy efficiency for your building. So there is one main disadvantage to combining all of these building services into one central package which will work energy efficiently and work together. And that is that it takes a lot more time and effort and planning and a lot more work on site to put all of it together and make sure that it works really well together and that it's actually saving you money at the end of the day. And for this reason, it actually costs a little bit extra compared to if you just had a separate air conditioning unit, a separate floor heating, heat pump, separate tap hot water and pool heating. So yes, combining all of your building services into one central plant will cost you more initially. The benefits are that it will lower your running costs, it is more energy efficient, so it makes better use of your limited resources, and 3, that it uses less space, it requires less equipment. It's basically, instead of having 10 square meters of footprint, you might have 5 square meters of footprint for the building services, and it's all combined into one. At Euroheat, we've been designing and constructing these types of sophisticated hydronic heating and cooling systems for almost 30 years. So if you would like some expert help with your project to include this kind of system in your building, send through an email with your building plans, including the floor plans, the sections, the structural engineer's drawings, everything that you've got, because the more information the better, and a short description of what you would like to achieve. And then we can have a look at your project and get back in touch with you to see how and if we can help you best.